Today I'm going to teach you how to solve one-step equations. In any equations problem, we're solving for our variable. A variable is just basically any letter, so it could be A, B, C, D, and so on. Some steps you can use to solve for your variable is think about what's happening to your variable, and then work backwards and do the opposite operation. This will make more sense when we solve a problem. For number 1, we're solving for v, which is our variable. Before we even solve the problem, I would write down what's happening to the v. So it's getting added by 8. Since this is a one-step problem, there's only going to be one step. Writing out what happens to your variable will be a lot more helpful when you go on to more advanced equations. So instead of doing plus 8, we have to subtract 8 because we have to do the opposite operation. So 8 minus 8 is 0, so that cancels out. So you could just mark that out. And then whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So 26 minus 8 equals 18. So 18 equals v. And that's your answer. For number 2, we're going to write out the steps once again. So the first thing that happens to my m is that it was added by 4. So instead of adding by 4, we have to subtract by 4. So that cancels out. And then minus 4. Now you have to remember your integer rules. So if you wanted to, you could write it out. Negative 12 minus 4. So that becomes a negative plus a negative. So then you're left with m equals negative 16. Try solving number 3 on your own. The first thing that happened to my variable is that it was subtracted by 6. So that it could equal to 0, you have to add 6. Your answer is positive 1. Hopefully you got that answer. There is a way to actually check your answer. You could plug in the answer that you got into the variable in the equation. So 18 plus 8 does equal 26. And then when you plug in negative 16 to m, you do get negative 12. And then if you plug in positive 1 into p, 1 minus 6 does equal negative 5. So if you're not sure if you got the correct answer, that's one way to check it. 4 and 5 are dealing with different operations. So I'm going to write out my steps. This means being multiplied because the variable and the 10 are together. So I could write my variable is being multiplied by 10. So instead of multiplying by 10, I have to divide by 10. So 10 divided by 10, and then 40 divided by 10. And then you just bring your n down. And then 40 divided by 10 is 4. So if you plug a 4 in the n, 10 times 4 is 40. So you know you got the answer right. Number 5 looks a little bit weird, but if you write out the steps, it will become easier. So this means that it's being divided. So I could write divided by 18. So instead of dividing by 18, you multiply by 18. So times 18, and then you could just write equals b, and then you have to multiply by 18 on the other side. So 18 times 6 your answer will be negative 108. Once again, you could check that by plugging in negative 108 in the b. Pause the video and try solving 6 and 7 on your own. So for number 6, let's write down our step. It's being divided by 8. So we have to multiply by 8. Then 8 times 2 equals 16. When you plug that in, it equals 2. So you know you got it right. So for 7, our variable is being multiplied by 9. So we have to divide by 9. This cancels out. And you're left with n equals 3. You will plug that in. 9 times 3 equals 27. I want to show you one more thing before I go. So this is a two-step equation. You might not think that writing the steps out are useful, but it will help you in solving more advanced equations like I said before. So I'm going to solve this problem for you. So the first thing that happens to our variable is that it's getting multiplied by 8. And then there's a next thing, it's getting added by 7. So you write that. When you're solving it, you go from the bottom step to the one on top. So we're starting from step number 2. So instead of adding by 7, we subtract by 7. So you bring the other stuff down. 8n equals 24. So now we're going to step number 1. Instead of multiplying by 8, we have to divide by 8. So you're left with n equals, then your answer is n equals 3. So if you plug 3 in, 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 7 is 31. So I hope now you see why it's a good idea to write down your steps. You can comment down below any questions you have, or you could comment down a request for a concept you want me to make a video about. Thank you so much for watching.